I got one idea that I'm especially psyched out of my mind about. You know, it's one of those ideas where you're just like, yes!
Dave? Dave Flynn?
On the radio!
Hold on to your butts.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for pushing play and tuning in to Dave Flynn on the radio. This is Dave Flynn, where we admit reading is hard, so I'll do it for you. And I've been recording a lot of these this week, trying to get caught up and get my feet under me. And we've got a big breakthrough to announce. And thanks to a couple of recommendations from the folks at the Acquired podcast, which I listen to a lot, and I'm pretty much the polar opposite of, but they recommended this state-of-the-art microphone stand, and I've got to admit, I feel fantastic. I'm standing, I'm on my feet, I've got the energy, and hopefully you will feel the energy too. Today, I'm sharing a modernized version of an old sales story, something I've heard a few different ways. I think the classic version is Lester Newman, not to be confused with Western Union, but this adaptation expands on it a little bit, and I'm trying to tackle the idea of first impressions or false impressions, maybe peacocking. Some people call it putting their best foot forward, but what's really happening is that initial move is bullshit, for a lot of us. And how does that impact relationships? How does it impact trust? That is the question. More information available, as always, at winwithflynn.com. But let's jump into the show. Meet Adam Zahn. Adam lived back east in a city full of high-rise apartment buildings, each one chock full of potential customers. I figured I could collect all my rejections more efficiently if all the doors I had to knock on were in the same place, he said. But all the nice buildings had no solicitation signs. You couldn't get through the entrances without a resident buzzing you in. Adam had a trick up his sleeve. He'd dial up a unit on the top floor, and when they answered, he'd say, "Amazon." The door would buzz, the latch would click, and he'd let himself in. Adam would make his way up to that first lucky contestant who was racking their brain, trying to remember what it was they had ordered. When the resident's door opened without missing a beat, he'd dive straight into a sales pitch. Knives, I believe. Cutco, I hope. A few moments in, the resident would wave Adam off. "Wait a minute," they'd say. "I thought you were from Amazon." "Amazon? My goodness, no, I said my name is Adam Zahn." Adam would collect that rejection and make his way through the rest of the building. Gritty, resilient, clever, sneaky, underhanded, dishonest. Yeah. Adam went into those buildings to collect his rejections, but surprisingly, he never left empty-handed. Every time, he'd close a deal or two. Customers looked past that initial deceit and made a deal. I've met Adam Zahn. You probably have too. He shows up in sales and advertising, dating and politics. Sometimes he's charming, sometimes he's infuriating, but he's always there. Dating deception. The deception of social media is one thing, but dating apps take it to a whole nother level. I'm grateful to have found my wife before apps became the default, but I still hear the stories. And everyone who's used a dating app has a story. The excitement, the butterflies leading up to that first date. You're meeting her at a local coffee shop, a hipster spot, not exactly your style, but for this girl, you're willing to give it a shot. You enter, absorb an appraising look from the beanie-wearing barista, and scan the cafe for your date. But you can't find her. You check your watch, you double-check the address. Yeah, this is the place. You open up the app and check her picture again, but can't find a match amongst the regulars. The next thing you know, a shorter, plumper, older version of that profile pic approaches and introduces herself. You're filled with dread. "Sorry, I didn't recognize it. Just, you look different than your picture." "Oh, I do? I guess that's an old pic. I changed my hair." You sure did. Adam Zahn strikes again, showing up different than advertised. hoping once he's through the door, he's got a chance. This particular version of Adam Zahn thinks somewhere in the recesses of their mind that they can appear completely different than advertised and still close the deal. That somehow their charm, personality, that it will override the breach of trust. And sometimes they're right. Have it your way. Adam Zahn sells dinner too. My kids love watching TV, but there's a particular part of the TV watching experience that has some novelty for this Netflix generation. It's something called a commercial. You see, in a world of commercial-free streaming bliss we've afforded them, they want to walk the dark, dank, grimy streets of the advertising business. Seriously, ask them about a commercial for Sky Rizzy, Dublin Law Group, and Burger King. They know the commercial, my daughter will sing the jingle, and my son might even have a coupon code. The boy in particular has a future on Madison Avenue, I have no doubt. One day he was watching some tube on an empty stomach and asked, "Dad, why do they make the food look so good on TV?" "Because if they don't," I proclaimed, "nobody would ever try it. Do you remember what those burgers look like at the actual restaurant? A mess." "Yep, a mess. And they taste worse." "But Tipsy Cow is so good. Why don't they have commercials?" "Because," I said, "they're so good they don't need them. Why did we decide to go there?" He said, "Somebody told us it was good, I guess. Plus, they always have a line out the door. And it's across the street from Molly Moon's ice cream." Exactly. For some reason, these burger joints think, let me show America a real humdinger of a burger, and when they come in, we'll give them a pouch full of slop. They'll be sure to come back. False advertising. Puffery is what we called it in business school. You can claim to be the best burger in the galaxy with impunity. But there's a penalty, right? Everybody knows you're full of shit. David Ogilvy once said of advertisers, "You wouldn't tell lies to your own wife. Don't tell them to mine." I'd add that, don't lie to my kids. But you know what? Adam Zahn does, and strangely enough, we often forgive him. Badges? We don't need no stinking badges. Yeah, Adam Zahn is a slippery little devil. He'll jump the turnstile and sneak through the lobby. We even advocate for his antics on occasion. During my time in consulting, every salesperson wanted to be badged. Close enough deals, and you'll be on site with clients all the time, meeting with stakeholders and making sure projects are running on time. When you're there enough, eventually your sponsor gets tired of walking down to the lobby to escort you through security, so they'll get you a badge. You sign a blood oath that you'll only use that badge and your trusted access to the building for business purposes. But I'll be damned if these salespeople didn't hear business and think business development. They head through security on a Friday morning to drop off donuts and swag, a cheap excuse to enter the building for business. Of course, their client isn't in the donut eating business, and neither are they. Entering under a false premise sounds like Adam Zahn to me. But it gets worse. These salespeople walk the halls of Amazon or Starbucks, and they think, I've been trying to get in front of Mrs. VP for years, and here's her office. Why not just knock, knock, knock and introduce myself? Can you imagine? A Wharton grad with a pile of stock options trading their time for your Krispy Kreme? If the client is particularly trusting, they'll grant network access, email access, org chart access along with that badge. And despite the blood oath, the expectation back at the consulting firm is that you'll Adam Zahn the shit out of that earned trust and mine that treasure trove of leads forevermore. They'll feel a bit guilty, but just a bit. All the firms are doing it, right? It's just part of the business. And they're not wrong. Every firm has their version of Adam Zahn. Some will actively clone him. Mirror, mirror. Just trying to close some deals. Just trying to get a date. Just trying to sell some burgers. No harm, no foul. Somehow we forgive ourselves, so we expect others to forgive us as well. Stephen Covey said, "We judge ourselves by our intentions and others by their behavior." But are those little lies harmless? Exaggerations, embellishments? They must add up to something, right? Even Adam Zahn would admit he does it to get his way. The Oracle sales force certainly was feared, Larry Ellison once said, mainly by me. He knew the aggressive old cowboys were a liability. No doubt he employed a few Adam Zahns, Over time, he worked to move his sales force to a consultative, knowledgeable, service-oriented group. He said it's the kind of people you'd want your son or daughter to marry. And yet, Adam Zahn keeps showing up. In real estate, they'll say it's cozy, but what they mean is it's tiny. They'll say the neighborhood is up and coming, but what they mean is it's sketchy as hell. We've all Adam Zahned our resume. That summer internship becomes extensive experience. Basic PowerPoint skills morph into advanced presentation design. And the unfortunate layoff becomes an introspective sabbatical. We call it putting our best foot forward. It feels safer that way. Wiggle in. They'll learn to love you later. You already know Adam Zahn. You've dated him, bought from him, maybe even been him. The question isn't whether Adam Zahn exists or how much of him you'll let in the building. It's how much of him you could admit lives in you. There we have it. That's the pod. Thank you for listening. If you like what you hear, please share it with a friend. Give it a thumbs up. And if you've got a few extra seconds, give it a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you are listening. The engagement will make you feel so good, and it'll help other people find the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
All right, there you go, America. I love you. I'm proud of you. I mean it. We gotta go. This is great.